Welcome to Lockdown Universe's top secret access area, where we've collected the most amazing stories, the deepest cuts that are 100% unheard anywhere else. Please join us as we give you uncovered whistleblower testimony, top secret interview info from government op insiders, alien abductee stories, and much, much more. So welcome to Lockdown Universe's top secret access area. Let's go. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Lockdown Universe, home of the bizarre, peculiar, and unheard of stories of UFO legend and lore. And today we've got a banger for you. I've got a story about an alien abduction out of Manitoba, Canada. Okay, this event occurred in 1989, and it involved a man who was coming home from a long drive from the U.S. back to Manitoba. Okay, now Manitoba is one of those provinces that doesn't get a lot of attention, but it's an amazing province. If you ever get a chance, you should definitely go there. But anyway, I'm going to preface the story, and then I'll get into more detail about it. This individual states and reports that he encountered 3 alien beings who took him aboard their ship, and they had long black hair, almost like dreadlocks, according to him. Long black hair, and there was 3 of them floating, and they called themselves the Trinity, not to be confused with the Holy Trinity, but they called themselves the Trinity of ambassadors of their species to Earth. Okay, so I'm going to get to that in a moment. So that's the preface of the story. So the story goes in 1989, late December, just before Christmas, this individual was driving home, and he stated to my contact that he was going home on this trip, and that the Christmas was coming up, and he had actually come down to the U.S. to pick up some presents. They didn't have the internet back in 1989. So he was going home, and again, missing time, right? In the last episode, I reported that the individual had undergone hypnotic regression. This individual also underwent hypnotic regression and stated that he had missing time of about 90 minutes. Despite the fact that the trip was long anyway, coming from America, going back to Manitoba, but that he should have arrived on time, and he arrived 90 minutes late, and he was groggy after a certain point in the trip, that he was very exhausted, very tired, and seemed like he had missed part of the trip, basically. So he was driving one of those big Ford SUVs, I guess. He didn't specify which one, but he's coming home, and when he got there, again, right, just like the last guy, he kind of like fell asleep, put it off for many years, actually. And then, he just decided that, he started watching some UFO shows. A couple things started coming back into his memory. Again, kind of the same thing with me. I've watched UFO shows where I thought, man, something similar like this is ringing a chord with me. I don't know why, but it's bringing back some kind of like visceral feel to me. And he felt the same way. And so he went to a hypnotic regression therapist and started to find out what happened. So apparently, his car actually shut down on a back road. It shut down. He didn't turn it off. It started to lose power. He was listening to radio. The radio started to shut down. The car engine power shut down, and it kind of not grinded, but it slowed down to a halt and stopped. And he's looking around. He's like, "What the hell's going on with my car?" Once your car's on, usually it stays on until you get to wherever you get to and you turn it off. Now, it might not turn back on, but it usually doesn't just shut off unless there's some sort of electronic magnetic interference, which is what these aliens do. They utilize their technology to damage the electrical field or turn off your electrical field in your car. An EMP can do that. Another form of electronic magnetic technology can do that. So his car stops, and he gets out, and all of a sudden, up on this, little underneath an overpass, he sees these 3 8 foot tall, long dreadlocked, light skinned aliens who are wearing robes, and they're hovering above the earth. They're just hovering there, about 1 to 2 feet off the ground. And he's like, "What the hell's going on here?" And they communicated with him telepathically. They said, "Of course, we're not going to hurt you, but we do need you to come aboard our ship." And so they paralyzed him utilizing some little device that was attached to their neck area. So it looked like it was like a pendant. And this pendant had the capability of paralyzing him and hovering him into their craft, which was reported to be oval shaped by about 20 feet long by 80 feet wide. And he was able to keep his eyes open long enough to be able to see this craft, which was glowing purplish and yellow with these oscillating waves. And the beings reported that they wouldn't hurt him, but they wanted to check his genetics. Okay, like we all know, we have these alien farmer races that continue to check our genetics and see how we're progressing along our lineage. And they also wanted to ask him about his beliefs. So they start to hover him into this craft, which again was oval and appeared to be kind of like how some galaxies are, where they have the oval shape to them. Well, kind of like the Milky Way, right? The Milky Way is oval in nature as well. And so they hover him in and they begin to speak to him telepathically about his spirituality. They talked to him about their spirituality and asked him questions as well. One of the statements they made during their conversation was that they were able to ascend many illnesses that faced their species and other species on other planets that they've met. And they especially did this through mental health and concentration and forms of technology. They stated that a lot of issues on Earth are due to mental health and due to other forms of untruths that we have here on the planet. They stated that the primary reasons behind mental health issues on their planet was due to a lack of honesty and a lack of telepathy, right? Telepathic forms of communication, and that they continue to have problems with lies and deceptions before they kind of became this hive mind. They figured out how to perfect telepathy so that they could read each other's minds, and they had no choice but to be perfectly honest with each other. And once they did this, they found out that they were able to ascend many illnesses quickly. They stated that once an individual on their planet was made to feel safe and comfortable and taken care of physically, spiritually, and emotionally, that they were able to achieve this state of oneness with their nature, their state of full compliance with their nature, and that they started to understand energy fields, like how we understand auras and energy fields that are around us. They started to understand energy fields and how they affect the species being. I was about to say human being, but their species being. And so they started to talk about how they were able to cure most physical ailments through understanding of these energy fields that were around them and telepathy. Now, what we understand about energy fields here on Earth is that there are the Carillion photographs that were started to be developed in the 70s and 80s, where they were able to see these energy patterns on things they were able to take pictures of. If you put your hand down, they could see an energy pattern coming off your hand. If you put a leaf down and they took a photograph a certain way, they were able to see these energy patterns start to come off. And so we understand a little bit about energy fields and how they affect us, but we are so low on the educational scale. We're trying to get there, but we're not quite there yet. But what's important, an important takeaway, I think, in this particular story is that once we start to understand how energy affects us personally, whether it's through conversation or through anger or through happiness, that once we start to understand these processes and how they begin to affect our body and our mind, we're going to start to see massive changes in our ascension to the next dimension, right? Our ascension to becoming an overall better species, an overall more advanced species. And so that's exactly what they relayed to this individual. So they reported that physical ailments were only a byproduct of the emotional mind, and that challenges and stresses in the mind and in the environment cause most physical ailments. So they stated also that they tried to live in peace and harmony with their environment. They stated that they had previously used a lot of bad products that caused cancer-like diseases, and they stated to the individual that we as humans are using many, many products that are causing a lot of cancers, and they know this because they've been doing DNA testing on us. And we know this, and we continue to use them anyway, right? They stated products like asbestos, a poor diet consisting in high meats, using certain plastics in foods, and other chemicals affecting our planet cause significant amount of disease to our DNA and our genetic structure. Now think about that for a second. Think about how these products actually affect our DNA and the DNA's ability to process and replicate itself perfectly. So when you have cancers, they are developing in an incorrect way, right? They're incorrect cells. The cells change and become a cancer cell. Now we know that we can regress that. We can cause those cancer cells to reduce if we understand the processes, and these aliens apparently have figured that out. So moving forward, it was at this point that he was shown one of the most beautiful, ethereal, beyond holographic displays that shone an array of colors he had never seen before and were so far off the scale of his comprehension it was impossible for him to describe. He stated that it was at this point he started to receive some of the most fascinating information, and they started to touch the screen and were able to show where their planet was in relation to Earth. And they also began to describe that humankind needed to survive the next 300 years, that this was going to be an important time period in humankind. Otherwise, if we didn't survive and didn't change our planet and the methods in which we live, that our DNA would be too far damaged to be repaired, and they've seen this happen in other cultures on other planets as well. They reported that they do have technology and devices to reduce genetic effects, however, only to a degree. So they can only change genetic issues to a degree, and that humankind was starting to become too far gone for them to be able to change, and that's why they stated they're starting to work on hybridization with their own species so that they were able to continue some form of lineage of humankind. So they reported that overpopulation would continue to cause a decline in Earth's ability to heal as well, and that if we continued to construct and deconstruct the planet, using construction to build buildings and deconstruct the planet by utilizing its resources and the fossil fuels, that it would cause the demise of the planet. They also stated that if we changed our method of beliefs, we could actually change things. That if we went to more of a hive mind mentality like they had, that everyone would benefit, and that we could actually save ourselves from our own mentality and our own method of society breakdown, right? We're breaking down as a society, we're breaking down Earth, and so they're stating that the current state of affairs doesn't support life, basically. People were too focused on themselves. They were too focused on creating the next biggest and best thing instead of living in harmony with the planet. And so there's a specific way to do that. They stated that they've utilized certain molecules and certain building materials to do that, but our building materials are actually causing more problems for our planet than doing good, right? I think as humans, we always are concerned about anyone telling us to stop populating, and that's totally understandable. But what's interesting is that they're saying that we need to be careful with the materials that we're using, because these materials are actually causing problems with the water and other issues with within the planet. So that's what's really challenging for us in particular to accept and to change our methods of building materials. And I've worked in building materials before. I've seen people get cancer from concrete and all kinds of stuff like that. So I can understand what they're saying here. They stated that they also had amazing recycling and terraforming technology on their planet that seemed to boggle his mind, and they actually started to show him how they were able to do this, and they were able to completely manipulate and change the chemical composition of their garbage so that it fit their environment perfectly, so that it did not leave a negative carbon footprint on their soil. So they actually, through their recycling process, they were able to change it so that they didn't leave a negative footprint on the soil, that they actually left a beneficial one, at least for their species, right? And they had discovered a way to live harmoniously within nature instead of abusing it, like so many other species have been noticed and seen and witnessed in the past for these creatures. So with that said, at this point, our witness kind of blacked out, and he woke up again, kind of back in his car, trying to figure out what happened. And the story basically ends there. He goes back home and kind of tries to put things back together and learns about this later on through the hypnotic regression. But he in this case he seemed to be more at peace with it because he understood what they were talking about. This species actually gave him a lot of information as opposed to other species which really don't give us a great deal of info. They'll give you a little bit, but then they pretty much do what they want to do. This species in particular, whoever they are, the Trinity in this particular case, whatever their real name is for their species, but they called themselves the Trinity. Really gave him a lot of information, really gave us something to chew on here, and that's why I wanted to keep this in the top secret access file, because I think this is so interesting and so important that only people that are really interested in ufology are really going to want to know about this. So I think that it's a fascinating story. I definitely want to share it with you guys. I appreciate you guys come to my Patreon page and benefiting us and allowing me to continue to do research with multiple individuals in the field. So thank you for that, and please continue to follow up for more updated podcasts as well. And I wanted to send out a little quick message here for a lot of us who are dealing with mental health issues during this time, during COVID, and before and after. You're not alone. I've worked in the mental health field for a long time, and I've assisted individuals who've had issues, and I myself have had issues. And I want to let you know that you're not alone, that we're all in this together, and that please stay in contact with your family, your friends during this time. Do video chats, and just know that if you have an experience like an alien experience, that you're not alone. If you have a traumatic experience that's not alien related, you're not alone. Okay? There's places that you can get resources and assistance with if you don't have a good support system, but please engage your support system and let them know, hey, you know what, I'm having a difficult time. I want to continue to talk with you guys. I want to continue to stay in contact, stay in touch, and I guarantee you it'll make you feel better. So anyway, I hope you guys are taking care of your mental health, spiritual health, physical health. You're following through on your hobbies and goals and your dreams, and always continuing to question the universe around you. Until next time, guys, thank you for accessing the top secret location for Lockdown Universe, and we'll continue to bring you high quality content in the near future. Until next time, Lockdown Universe out.